Bret Hart just went nuclear in Montreal and called Hulk Hogan and Jake Roberts two of the biggest pieces of in wrestling, while praising Roddy Piper for passing the torch, admitted he has no idea who MJF is because he doesn't watch AEW anymore, and destroyed Sheamus by calling his punches an embarrassment. This is Bret Hart going full Bret Hart, and the wrestling world is absolutely exploding over these comments. Welcome back to your home for explosive wrestling controversy. WWE Hall of Famer Bret Hart sat down with the Johnny I Pro Show in Montreal on the anniversary of the Montreal Screwjob, and over the course of an hour and a half, he unloaded on modern wrestling, tore apart multiple legends, and reminded everyone why he's the most brutally honest voice in the industry. From calling out Sheamus' terrible punching technique, to admitting he's never heard of one of AEW's biggest stars, to burying Hulk Hogan and Jake Roberts as selfish pieces of garbage, Bret held absolutely nothing back. Let's break down every single explosive comment. If you haven't subscribed to Alpha War Room yet, smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications right now because we're covering wrestling controversies that will set the internet on fire. Let's start with the MJF bombshell. During the interview, Bret was discussing hypothetical dream matches, including how he would have loved to work with John Cena if the Montreal Screwjob had never happened. He said, "Can you imagine John Cena with the US versus Canada thing I had going? Hypothetically, just say the Screwjob never happened and I was still in WWF. That would have happened. I would have worked with John Cena and we would have done amazing stuff. I found John Cena to be such a professional and I would have loved to have worked with him." But then someone in the crowd shouted MJF's name. Bret stopped and asked, "MJF? Who is that? Just curious though, who is it?" When told MJF is an AEW wrestler, Bret responded, "AEW wrestler? As you can tell, I don't watch a lot anymore." Wrestling news sites immediately exploded. MJF is one of the biggest stars in AEW, a former world champion, and one of the best heels in modern wrestling. The fact that Bret Hart has no clue who he is speaks volumes about how disconnected he's become from the current product. Then Bret turned his attention to Sheamus. He criticized modern wrestlers for throwing punches that open into flat hands at the last second and slap their opponents instead of looking realistic. He said, "I see guys throwing punches and they open their hand at the last second, then slap the guy and close it by the time they pull back. Who's that Irish guy? Sheamus does those all the time. Whenever I see him, I'm like, why don't you take 10 minutes and have someone teach you how to throw a punch instead of throwing that embarrassment of a punch?" Sheamus is currently out with a shoulder injury and was pulled from the last time is now tournament. Now he's got to deal with Bret Hart publicly calling his punches embarrassing on top of his recovery. Bret also admitted he has a hard time watching modern wrestling because it's too fake now, and bad punches are a major reason why. But the most explosive comments came when Bret discussed Roddy Piper and contrasted him with Hulk Hogan and Jake Roberts. Bret praised Piper for helping him transition into singles competition and passing the torch at WrestleMania 8. He said Piper laid out their match framework perfectly and they were on the same page about the story they wanted to tell. Bret revealed the finish of that match, where he reverses Piper's sleeper hold into a pin, was Piper's idea, and Roddy specifically wanted to go out that way. Then Bret dropped the bomb. He said, "Roddy knew how to make a hero. He was the first guy to reach down, pull someone like me up to the next level, and pass that torch." In contrast to guys like Jake Roberts and Hulk Hogan, who never passed the torch to anybody. All they did is take and take and take. Two of the biggest pieces of shit in wrestling. Bret also claimed he laid out 95% of his WrestleMania 13 match with Steve Austin and 90% of his Iron Man match with Shawn Michaels, saying Austin and Michaels mostly just nodded and asked what to do next. He's taking full credit for matches widely considered among the greatest of all time. Hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts on Bret's explosive comments, and make sure you're subscribed with notifications on for more wrestling controversy that shakes the industry.